I want to talk about why Superman's important. And I know I talk about this a lot on my channel, but I want to hopefully here do it in a way that I don't usually talk about it. I want to give kind of a fresh angle on it because this is and I'm trying to put that scholarly lens on here. I'm trying to put the mythologist slash psychologist lens on the character, are looking at the character and what he means to society. Not everybody's a Superman fan. We know that. Not everybody here in the chat is a Superman fan. Not everybody is a fan of comic book superheroes. Know that? Sure, we know that. Not everybody feels the same way about this character individually as I do, obviously. But this character is one of the few characters out there that is so culturally ingrained in our society, and even to a certain point in the world. You know, that S shield, that's an instantly recognizable symbol just about anywhere in the world. Your average person, you know, who doesn't read comics or doesn't see movies or whatever, they're not going to know a lot about the his secret identity. They're not going to know about his secret life and all this kind of stuff, but they'll know certain points. They'll know that he stands for truth, justice, the American way. Usually they'll know Clark Kent, they'll know Lois Lane, they'll know kryptonite hurts him and things like that. That's getting less and less. It's getting less and less because of all these stupid deconstructions of all of the ways that Snyder tried to just completely break down the character and make him not stand for anything he traditionally stands for. And then you have people try to justify that. He made him work to that. No, you misunderstanding the archetype. It doesn't work. And he ends up standing for nothing like that. So, and that's the closest, you know, that's what people were giving us in terms of the canon Superman. No. Or you have Superman and Lois, where you've got basically, you know, he's Lois's purse puppy, you know, walking around. And yes, I've seen the show, and it's ridiculous. It's the focus is on their kids. The focus is on the drama. It's a CW teeny bopper drama. It's not a Superman show. But going back to the beginning of Superman, you know, he is so ingrained in our culture. There's a reason for that. Because he's a very seminal character. Even in this crosses the lines. This is regardless of whether you're a fan of him or not, or whether somebody's a fan of superheroes or not. Superman taps into a seminal archetype within us because, first of all, I'm speaking he's from Western civilization in general, or Western civilization in general. He first of all operates at the most basic foundation on the archetype of the sun god. You know, he gets his powers from the sun. He's charged up by our Earth's yellow sun. And sun gods in history of mythology were there. They were life-giving. They were nurturing because the sun itself was nurturing. You know, primitive cultures, they couldn't live without the sun. The sun gave life. And it was powerful. It was very powerful. It can burn you. It can do different things. So the sun is incredibly important. And gods that they would create to be identified with the sun, or the sun gods, are naming the sun certain things, were powerful gods, sometimes to be, you know, kind of feared in one level. They were very nurturing. You depended on them for your life. And then also, whether it's just a matter of semantics, I don't think there's all of that is to it, but sun gods, if you see a progression within Western mythology, there was also a progression into the sun gods being the son of God, right? You have Apollo, the son of Zeus. Same thing in Egyptian theology, Norse theology, you know, with the different gods, you know, being the son of God, come to earth. Sometimes they're not directly related to the sun, but then that son of God trope with Heracles, with Thor, and so forth, that became a big deal too. That the gods would have, even in races, this is like pre-Christian era, so this is races where the gods aren't necessarily loving and caring for man, but there was some sort of concern or some sort of dealing with man, at least in this one son of God character, you know, Heracles, who would come and be a hero here among us and whatnot. So we have that tie already to Western civilization. And Western civilization also, there's a progression. You know, if you take a Western Civ class in high school, college, or whatever, it starts at ancient Greece usually. Maybe it'll start, you'll get a few cursory things about the Near East, Mesopotamia, a little bit of Egypt, but you really dig into it when you get to ancient Greece, because that's the seat of Western civilization. Certainly from an American perspective, Greece and Rome were the seats of our neoclassical experiment that we were doing here to start our government and our culture in the American way and everything we have here. So you get a theme of progression from the ancient Greeks on into the Romans, you know, and the things they did for civilization. Of course, they devolved many ways too. You have the quote unquote dark ages, which weren't all that dark. But in terms of the way history puts it, usually it was a bleak time until the Renaissance came and saved us or whatever. But it's a Renaissance of knowledge. There's always this eye toward progress, toward scientific, technological, philosophical advances. And you can take that too far and it can end up being chronocentrism, which is ridiculous. But there is that theme of progress. And it really culminated in America in the 20s, 30s, 40s there when you had science fiction really taking off. Before that, you had H.G. Wells. Before that, you could look back to things like Voltaire's Macromegas and stuff like that. But it really was the 20th century that really saw science fiction, and came in the pulps and everything like that. Superman was born out of that. And the original thrust of science fiction, the original, that atomic punk kind of era is a positive outlook of the future. Think of the first Star Trek series, the original series. There's a positive outlook of the future. It was things are going to get better. And part of that was that they were living in such a dire time, with the Depression, with the Great Wars and all of that kind of thing. They needed the future to be better, but they were also making a lot of technological advances. So there was some sort of positive view of the future. And then we get this character, Superman. And he developed a little bit into this. As I talk about on my channel many times, there's a formative period. Every time a character is created that's going to end up taking such a firm hold on the public consciousness, there's a little bit of a formative period where the writers listen to the feedback of the public, and they are sort of formed a little bit. So Superman ended up flying. He became a little less of a trickster, and they really embraced the truth, justice, and the American way, and so on. So we'll get to that. So we've gotten to the creation of Superman and the creation of being that progression of Western culture. Talk about the American in particular. He's part of the American cultural fabric. So Superman, created in America, 20th century. And yes, he was created by two young Jewish boys. And there's a very hard strain of the Moses archetype within him. Absolutely. Kal-El, Jor-El, from Krypton. These are vaguely Hebraic sounding names. In fact, Kal-El can kind of mean, I think it's sky god, because El is, of course, a word for God in Hebrew, Elohim, and so forth. But Kal-El vaguely, I think you can kind of trace it to something like a sky god or whatever, which makes sense again, right? But young Kal-El is placed in his shuttle to escape certain death as an infant, and he's sent down the stream of space, just like Moses sent down the Nile by his mother to escape murder, found by someone and raised. So there's a little bit of that, and he's there to set his people free. The interesting thing about it, though, is that Kal-El doesn't come to Earth to set enslaved Kryptonians free, like Moses went to Egypt to set enslaved Hebrews free. No, he goes to Earth to identify as a human and lead them into a better tomorrow, to set them free. And this is where the Christ figure of Superman comes in. Some people just roll their eyes immediately at this, and they're so tired they will say, he's not a Christ figure, he's a Moses figure. First of all, understand how typology works. Moses himself is a type of Christ. You can't divide the two. I get it. People, idiots like Zack Snyder has just bashed it over the head, Christ. And Snyder doesn't even understand who Christ was. Snyder doesn't even understand the Christ figure. He doesn't understand what he's doing. He's just trying to throw a bunch of stuff in the wall that he thinks is interesting and whatever. It's not even original. But I get being kind of over or done with that, but you can't deny that it's there, and it's important, profound, and seminal to the character. Think about it. Superman's heavenly father, right? Jor-El, off there in the heavens, sent to Earth his only son. And why did he send him? So that we could be better through him, because we could be a good people. We want to be, but we lack the light to show us the way. What does it say in John chapter 1? The word was flesh, the word was made flesh, and the light came into the world. People knew this. Now, writers, beyond just Siegel and Schuster, took over the character and developed it. And through that formative period, that's what he became. And he was that for decades upon decades in our culture, and remained that way, as I've said, until the arbitrary, legislated from top down change that happened in the New 52, where Dan DiDio completely doesn't understand heroes or the character at all, wanted to make him dark, edgy, so forth. That's what Snyder picked up on when he made his nonsense films. He and Nolan, these guys don't understand the character either. They're trying to tell their versions of it. They think they're ashamed. Our culture is ashamed of a hero that could just be good from the start, that doesn't need to face a tragedy. He doesn't need to overcome moral failings. Those are the cathartic motivational heroes. And they're worth it. They are good heroes, and we need those kind of heroes. But as I said, they don't work without aspirational heroes that show us that standard to strive for. That standard which says this is real good. There are people, there's a goodness in the world that doesn't have to be learned. It can be innate. Now, we'll never make it to that point as humans, but it gives us something to strive for. We want to do that. Can you imagine? I mean, just for a second, imagine that you had Superman's powers right now. What would that mean? That would mean that you could do practically whatever you want and never get caught. You could spy on anyone, listen in on anyone in their homes. You could see anyone you wanted naked, whatever. No one would ever know except for you. You never have to work again. You could steal money from any bank you wanted to. No one would ever know except from you. You could start to justify it in your mind a little bit. Well, I'm taking from people who are corrupt corporations, and I saved a few people the other day, so of course I would deserve some compensation. You can just imagine the snowball effect, because you yourself, I myself, we are not good enough. We are not that level of purity to truly have self-control, to truly be that meek, to say, I want to lay my life down for others. And this is the crux of heroism. This is what it is. This is what these heroes try to teach us. If you have these powers, if you have these abilities, they are to lay your life down for others. This is what you do. This is what you should strive for. This is what heroism is. It's to lay your life down for others. And cathartic motivational characters show us how to be us, striving for that. As I said many times, Green Arrow or Spider-Man or so forth, they show us how to try for that, screw up, and get up and try for it again. But Superman, more than any other fictional character, really, I mean that, not just comic book superheroes, but really more than any other fictional character. And you tell me if you can think of one that you think would compete with this. More than any other fictional character, Superman embodies that archetype, that paragon, that aspirational hero, in a way that just infiltrates our society, to where we know what that shield means. We know what the character stands for on some level, even if we're not into heroes, even if we're not into Superman particularly. That is what's so vital and important about Superman.